welcome to the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy Holistic Transformation Podcast. Today, our wonderful guest is Cassandra Ciarallo. She is a social entrepreneur turned embodiment coach. She is passionate about helping people create their most enchanted lives. She helps them reconnect to the self, reignite their passion and desire, and rewire their thoughts, feelings, and energy. Today, she will talk to us about embrace your truest self. Welcome, Cassandra.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beverly. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're glad you're here. So everyone, I asked them the same question. What's your transformational story? How'd you get started? Why is this your passion? So maybe you can share that with us.
Absolutely. So I would say, my story starts almost a decade ago when I was really fascinated to become an entrepreneur. And I had this thirst in me to create and impact the world. And so I was traveling in Asia and happened to meet an artisan community based in Bali that was recycling inner tubes from trucks, scooters, motorbikes, and handcrafting them into this beautiful line of accessories. I met the artisan as he was making and handcrafting in his shop, and he invited me in. He said, "Do you want to make some pieces with me?" And I said, "What?"
Wow.
So yeah, I thought that was pretty unique and different, and I was very inspired. So I spent the whole afternoon making pieces with him, and I had this light bulb moment as he was creating a package for, I think, some country in Europe. And then I just said, "Oh, do you guys ship and distribute to Canada?" And he said, "No." And I'm like, "I want to work with you." As I'm sitting in his shop and people are coming in also so fascinated by the products, and he's selling pieces. And so I'm like, "Oh, there's a market here for this. I know all my friends would love this stuff." And I also saw for the first time really that there was this human being behind this item that was being made, where normally in North America, I'm living in Toronto, Canada, we don't ever see that, the person handcrafting the item right in front of you. Everything we see is usually like made in Cambodia, made in Indonesia, made in Vietnam or China, and we never have a connection to the person behind what we're buying. So it really was this turning point for me too, of I can see the item being handmade, and there was so much love going into it. So I decided to partner with that group and started my own company called Chic Made Consciously. And I was running that for 8 years, and that expanded over time to working with other global artisans in Cambodia. I launched 2 collections there from recycled brass and textiles. And I just became this little eco activist, really, really wanting to help people change their buying behavior, really looking at the story behind the label and the people. But yeah, on my journey, I think that I was really, as a lot of us do when we're taking on new projects or in our lives, we're looking externally for a lot of the answers. And I was looking at how much money I was making to define my success. I was looking at so many, I was looking at, as many people can relate to that. But it was just like, I never felt like it was enough, like what I was doing was enough. And there always felt like there were bigger challenges. And even though I was helping the planet, it was like, I couldn't do it, And of course, if I'm thinking of myself doing this all alone, right? We're never going to be enough. So I felt like I was stuck in that trap, which led me to overworking constantly, and I burnt myself out 3 times. Three times that I remember, like, pretty bad. And the third time I got sick. Each time was like my body was going to sickness. It was like, okay, you need to like stop. There's like no other bottom here than this, like stop and rest. But the third time I was kind of like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is not why I became an entrepreneur. And this can't be the way that I'm choosing to live. And so I knew something had to change. And this one woman that I would see yearly at a conference, she was also in the fair trade world, working with artisans in, I think it was Africa, or no, sorry, it was Nepal. And she was selling her business at the time, and she was moving into this embodiment work and it was called the art of feminine presence. And I was so curious, and I'm like, well, what is this? What is this embodiment? And she's telling me all these stories, and my body just keeps getting these goosebumps and goosebumps. And I'm like, I think I need to take your course. So my body's doing a thing right now. So I enrolled in her course, and, it was really this, like, how she was describing everything was moving out of this constant doing, and stepping into a new way of operating in the world, being more receptive, being more connected with the body, listening. And these were all kind of concept I knew in the mind, but like receptivity and slowing down. It felt new to me, because I had just been in these cycles of burnout that I'm like, okay, like, clearly my body doesn't know how to do that. I don't know how to really slow down. I say this is what I want for myself, but I don't actually know how to put that into practice. So I was drawn to that and started to learn these practices that were bringing me into my body, started to ask myself, well, how am I feeling? How do I feel physically? How do I feel emotionally? How do I feel energetically? What does that even mean? All of those layers, right? And I had been on a spiritual and self-development journey for many years, but never was I really like connecting with my body in this way. And so it was really fascinating to me. And I had a lot of blocks also in the beginning. But fast forward then about 6 months after, she invited me to a 3-day retreat from her teacher, where she had learned from these practices from. And I thought, of course, sure, I'll join. That sounds amazing. So I went to that 3-day retreat, and something just clicked. I was like, I need more of this. And so I invested in an 18-month program with her teacher, and decided this was going to be, a new path of learning for myself. There was a coaching certification in that. And then there was also the ability to learn the practices from the art of feminine presence and teach it. But at the time, I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to teach this. I'm going to make money off this. I'm going to be a coach. It was just something in me felt like I need more of this for my soul, for my body, for my learning, for my healing. And yeah, that was the draw. And so that was August of 2020. So it's been 3 years since that. Yeah. And it was the fall of 2019 when I started her course. But so I took that course, and, through the journey, I just started to see so many transformations in myself of, okay, I can actually, I can see the pattern now more. I can pull myself out of it. And I have these tools now to connect with my body and to teach me how to respond from a different place, versus just be entangled with everything going on inside of me and kind of continuing to numb with overworking. So it's been a fascinating journey, one that I am continuously on. But yeah, I got certified at the beginning of 2022. So last year. So I've been in practice as a coach myself now for 1.5 years. And it's been a journey. It's been amazing. And but that really, that's overarching story, of where I've been. And I tell my clients all the time, I am with you. I'm just holding your hand, because I'm committed to continuously dropping into myself and learning. And I can see the patterns much more clearly where I'm not in it for as long anymore. And I think that's the beauty of this work, is we get more and more rehearsed and practiced at not staying in those periods for so long, but we can pull ourselves out like in minutes or in hours versus days and weeks, or however long we get stuck in the cycles. It's not that we're never going to be in the cycles again because we're human beings, but it's that we can really pull ourselves out much quicker. And yeah, so that's really what I'm helping people do. It's been my journey moving out of the head and into the body and heart.
You learn to delegate
Delegate in what sense?
instead of doing everything yourself, which is what causes burnout.
Oh, in my business?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I had interns, I had some support. I had one at the time, one part-timer. We were a team of 3 at one point before COVID. But yeah, still, I mean,
Do you hear a humming sound?
no, I
Okay, good.
don't.
My microphone's there's something humming. I don't know what it is, but
Oh, okay.
hopefully my noise canceling microphone is canceling it out.
Okay, yeah, no, I can't hear it. I can't hear it. I'm good.
Otherwise, I'll pause and go figure out what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for
Um,
sure. I think it's honestly, though, that there was just so much going on that everything was scattered. And because I wasn't used to how to bring my energy back home to me, really like to redirect the energy, channel it and focus it to me, and stop giving my attention and energy away to so many different things. I think that kind of continued to cause that cycle, because now I feel a lot more contained with where my energy is, and I can channel it way better. And I can notice when I'm not in that channeled focus energy and I'm scattered, and I know what to do to bring my energy back, to pull myself back, to ground myself, to recenter, right? Which were all things I was not doing before. I was continuing to work from that scattered place, and that's just not going to get you anywhere, right?
no.
You know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there. It just was
Mm-hmm.
more than 3 years ago. It was decades ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you have to learn to be in your body and notice when you get strange sensations, your gut doesn't feel right. Why doesn't my gut feel right? Oh, I'm not paying attention over here. I need to do something about this. Or, oh, I'm hungry and I haven't eaten all day.
Yeah, exactly. The little
I've done
cues
that.
that our body is telling us, and we just don't listen. So, I mean, all we can do is continue to practice, or at least that for me, I know that I'm continuing daily to practice listening to those cues. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
it's very
interesting
important.
when we do, the insights that can come through, or the clarity, or and then you're guided to go do something else, and then you end up in this place like, oh wow, and now I just met this wonderful human who's going to help me with my business or something, right? It's like following
Yeah.
the breadcrumbs.
Uh-huh.
Following the breadcrumbs and being able to really attune yourself to listening instead of pushing it away. And that's definitely what I was doing before.
Yeah. So does this now you put this within the context of your work, but does this process also work for people, in their personal lives or, with their family life and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would say that most of my clients come to me looking for support around their purpose or their work, what they want to do, what their soul and their heart's calling them to do, and sort of helping them move from their head to their heart with those decisions. But absolutely, I've also helped people with relationships, family, really it's about clarifying your desires, and that can look in a work context, that can look in any kind of relationship in your life context, but it's about owning what your yes is and your no. So what you are ready to commit to for yourself and what you're not ready to commit to. And a lot of the women that I support, are overextending themselves, not only in work, but in overgiving to other relationships, really have no boundaries. They don't even know how to create them for themselves, or, how to build those really firm boundaries. And I support them with first feeling that energetically, so that we can create energetic boundaries. Because when you start to feel yourself, inside your energetic sphere, the light globe, I call it, when you can start physically and energetically feeling that first, then you can start to show up and say, oh, well, this is what I want. Oh, wow. It's like, then I have clients saying, oh, I was able to say this to my boss and I would have never said that before. And it's like, because now they're feeling themselves and feeling their desires more, versus just living for other people and just constantly saying, yeah, sure, I'll get that. Yeah, sure, I'll just add more to my plate, when you already know you're exhausted, overworked, and burnt out. But that pattern of not being able to say, no, you know what, I don't have capacity for that. I really would love if somebody else can take that on. And I was like, honestly celebrating one of my clients when she told me, she said, I would have never said that to my boss. And a week later, he came to me. First of all, he checked in on me. He came to my office personally, and she said he's never done that before. And then she also said, then he gave some of my workload to another colleague. And yeah. And it's like, well, that's what happens when you speak up for yourself. When you say, hey, look, this is too much for me. How can we solve for this? Versus just saying, yeah, I'm okay. And that was the pattern. Yeah, I'll just do that. Sure, no problem. I'll do it. Even though then you're going to be working X amount of hours overtime or whatever it is, and not getting paid for it and not getting honored for it. And when you start to speak up for yourself, people also notice you, versus you being invisible and you just saying, yeah, sure, I got that. And then shrinking your energy and sort of just conforming to what people want. Now it's like, no, I want you to take up space. And I want you to, the more that we feel ourselves in our body, we take up more space energetically, physically. And those are the things that start to happen. And it's like such a celebration.
Yeah, you're no longer transparent. Yeah, a long time ago, I worked in IT, and our bosses had the habit of saying, can you do this? Can you do this? And what I learned to do was say, I can't get it all done. What's your priority? I'll do that first. And I'd make them tell me what they wanted done first.
That's
says,
great.
okay, then this other task that you gave me will now be late. That's how I dealt with it. Because otherwise I took this one class, and one of the things they said was, how many of you have a string on your hand, and when someone says, can you do this, your hand goes up. I was one of those people. I was like, I'll do that. And I would burn myself out.
The people pleaser in us, right? We really want to be acknowledged and recognized through saying yes. I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. And then you're like, wait, how the heck am I going to do this on top of everything else I'm doing?
Yeah, I learned not to do that anymore.
That's great. Yeah, I love that visual though of the string to the hand, because that's exactly what a people pleaser does, right? Is just really wanting to serve others, but it's from a place of not being full inside and
of being empty.
Yeah.
I was empty for a long time.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah. We're working, raising a daughter, going to school, all at the same time, doing all of the housework, all of the cooking. Almost had a nervous breakdown.
Mothers, like we women are amazing beings. That's all I have to say. We are powerhouses.
Well, I was young then.
Yeah.
I know better today. I wouldn't even sign up for something like that today. I
Well,
know
this
it.
is why more of us need to be out there supporting other women who are still stuck in those patterns, and that's really why I love doing this, is because I feel like there's a lot of women still there and still needing support and wanting to be out of the rat race and just stuck in these patterns of, the hand going up. And
When I became an executive, what I noticed about women and why, because when you become an executive and there's only 3 women executives in the whole company, they want to talk to you. People want to talk to you. We actually had a big meeting of the women in the company and us 3 directors, and they were doing a lot of Q&A. And what I noticed with a lot of women is what you were saying is they don't say no. So they get burdened down with all this work, and you're not going to get promoted without relationships. You have to have subordinate relationships, peer relationships, and upward relationships with your boss, and then their bosses and their boss, and their colleagues, who are their peers. And when you have all those relationships, when it comes time for promotion, the managers get together. Who should we promote? If they don't know you, they're not going to promote you. And if you're so busy working, they don't know you. And what I noticed one time is people said, how did that guy get promoted? All he does is walk around talking to people. He had relationships. Who was complaining? All the women. What do the women do? I work so hard. Yeah, you work hard, but you didn't build any relationships. And that's
right.
part of your work. And that's part of, obviously, as an entrepreneur, is your relationships with your vendors, with your clients and customers. And you can't just work. You have to have the relationships there as well. And you won't get promoted otherwise, or you won't be successful as an entrepreneur, or
Totally.
it affects your family, it affects everything. And I think
Totally.
that's one of the things that people do, is they forget to work on the relationships, not just the tasks. The task at hand versus the people at hand. And sometimes when you work with the people, and like your example, the lady said to her boss, I can't do that. That was working on a relationship. And now they developed a better relationship, and now he took care of her.
Totally. Yeah. She communicated her needs, and that's
Mhm.
what relationships are about. Yeah.
Yes.
I
What
love
do I
that.
need? And stating it in a positive, proactive way, not in a whiny, I'm a victim kind of way.
Totally.
That doesn't get you anywhere. So,
Agreed.
can you describe the technique that you said you're certified in this? Can you talk a little bit about the technique that you use?
Sure. Yeah. So my teacher calls it the art of feminine presence. Really, I just, say it's the art of presence. It's not necessarily feminine. It's feminine more so means the energetics of like yin and yang type thing. So, and it's helping women to reconnect to their essence within. So it's a 44 practice modality. Each of those practices really focus on helping to drop into the body, whether that's in specific areas. Some of them are movement based, some of them are meditative style, to drop into the body and really focus on, the physical and the energetics behind it. So I infuse that with my coaching style. I work one-on-one with people, and then I also run a group program, which I'm relaunching for September. And I was running it as a 5-week container, and I ran that 4 times. And so I'm running in September, it's launching as an ongoing monthly container that people can join anytime. And because there's really this, there was this desire from clients and within myself to go deeper than the 5 weeks, and wanted to make it accessible for people to come in anytime. And the group is really more practice focused. So I share 1 or 2 practices every class, and we get to really explore what that feels like in the body, have conversations about it. And the group is a beautiful way to sort of see how other people are using it in their lives, or what their experience is like. And it's really beautiful to have healing in group containers, because everybody can kind of witness each other in it. And a lot of the women are usually going through the same things. So there's healing through the sharing, as I'm sure you know. But it's, yeah, so that's kind of how I use that. In the one-on-one sessions, it's a bit more intuitive, where I'll just pull from whatever practice I feel like is best for what's occurring in the session. And yeah, that's how it works. So
Cool. Does it have processes for getting people grounded?
Yes. Yeah. Usually, like, I bring them. So the first fundamental practice is really about dropping into the center of the womb space, or also known as the lower dantian in Chinese medicine. So it's very similar for men and women, right in the center of the pelvic bowl. And that's sort of the fundamental center that I'll teach right in the beginning, and teach all of my clients right off the bat, so they know when I'm referring to, like, let's drop into that center point. That's really one of the places that we're going to go over and over and over and over and over again, because that's our most grounding force in the body. Energy runs through our feet and up into this part of the body, and receives yin energy from the earth.
Yeah.
And it's storing energy in this vital center for our entire physical body, which is so fascinating. And yeah, we perceive a lot through our environment from this center. I know you do acupuncture, so you're like so familiar with the dantian, but it's just such a fascinating part of the body. The more connected to it that I get, the more, even in a few moments when I feel overwhelmed, I can drop into this part of the body, and some breaths will gently calm my nervous system. And I really think that it's so important. Grounding is like, the biggest thing for us, moving out of the head and living through the shoulds, and just listening to all the intellectual things that our mind wants to tell us to do, versus, okay, let's drop into the body, take some breaths, ground, and then ask, like, what's next from that place. And that's really a practice.
I find most people are very weak in the first 2 chakras, the very base. And today's culture, they do spend most of their time up in their head. And, to turn on your third eye, a lot of people don't know this. The way you turn it on is you go down and come up, because you have to go down and turn on the Kundalini, and it's the Kundalini that drives the energy of the third eye. So if you have poor, weak first and second chakras, and the dantian is right down there with it, it's all part of it. That whole area, the pelvic bowl, as you were saying, men, it's a little outside as well. That whole area needs to be strong. And you're right, the earth energy comes up through the feet, up the legs, and up the base of the body. There's actually an acupuncture point there, do one, which accepts the energy right away and brings it up.
Wow. Yeah. So I'm reading this book right now called The Enchanted Life, which is very fitting for me as an enchantment coach. It's very cool, but she talks a lot in the first couple of chapters, just even about all of these amazingly famous philosophers, right? Like Aristotle and Plato and Rene Descartes. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Descartes, right. But how they all became really popular around this, like, very logical, intellectual, transcendental way of seeing the world. And it was like, that was how people started to connect to life. And if we weren't in this transcendental state, if we weren't, up here in the head, then what are you doing, kind of thing. And there was less and less connection to the body. And she talks about a lot of, religions too, that make it, that sort of align with the narrative that I just said. So it's like in so many past civilizations and ancestry and all of these times where we're just, and religion, where we're sort of taught and told how important the mind is, right? But even just what you just said about opening the third eye, it's like, well, we have to drop in first and then come back up. And I think we're starting now as a society and as a culture and as a world to start to really see the value of grounding down first and connecting inside of us first to allow for our consciousness to continue to expand. But I still think people are trying to go from the other way, right? From that like logical, intellectual level. Well, let's just open the mind up more and then we'll find all the answers. But the insight comes when we can activate and ground and connect to our body, to the earth, to this like human form, even though many people are trying to, find other ways to
the human form
access.
has three brains. People don't realize this. We have our mind brain. Everybody knows about that. You actually have an AV node and a whole nervous system in the heart. So you have a heart brain, and the gut has its own nervous system. It's called peristalsis. And the gut moves things, and you have a vagus nerve, it's called the wanderer, runs all the way down to the gut, so that when you're in fight or flight, it turns off peristalsis. And in America, particularly, or Western culture, we have the bad habit of living in fight or flight mode. So people have all these digestive issues because they've turned off their sympathetic. The sympathetic is on instead of the parasympathetic. And you got to get out of fight or flight. And then the important thing is to get the mind heart connection and the gut heart connection, and learn to think through the heart rather than just logically, what should I do? What feels right? Like you were saying, how do I feel? What feels right? And a lot of our feelings come from our gut, but it has to be logical. That's why some people today, they do things like, that's total nonsense. You listen to some people and it's like, well, where are you coming from? Because you have to have both. You have to sense it and you have to think it, and then you process it with the heart and come from the heart.
Yeah, there's the whole, connection with all of it. We have so many systems at work and at play. And I think if you're sort of shunning or dismissing or repressing the feeling part or any part of it, right? I'm not saying that the mind is invalid and that we should only listen to the body, but like you're saying, right, it's this holistic approach to really working with all of them, and coming to a place of more balance where we're able to sort of sense that.
Well, the yin comes up from the earth, but the yang, that warmth and the light energy, comes down from the sun. And the heart's job is to combine the yin and the yang, like you said, to balance. And you have to have both at the heart to balance. And that's, to me, that's what I see missing, because like you were saying, that lower pelvic energy has not been developed in a lot of people.
Right. As well as the heart connection, I would say. I think that a lot of people have a lot of blockages around the heart based on past hurt, and it's hard to open up the heart. And I really think true safety and security comes from opening the heart and opening these like lower centers that we've been talking about. So yeah, it's so important. And yeah, my journey here to help others continue to unlock.
That's very important, especially for most women. There's probably some men as well, but I see it a lot in women course, I work mostly with women, but
Mm-hmm.
so maybe that's why I see it
Yeah.
mostly with women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same with me. I'm working only with women right now, but I see in the future where there'll be expansion to men as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have different, their issues are slightly different than what women have.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you're right. Being grounded, that was when I first woke up after being burnt out multiple times like you did. I literally spent a whole year just learning how to be grounded and in my body
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't in my body at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that took a lot of work, and I think sometimes when you're on that kind of a journey, you need a coach, you need someone to help you. You're not in your body.
Definitely.
Did you notice that? No, I didn't know. Yeah,
Mm.
someone to help you. So you have a support group then that you work with people?
The group that I run,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I run a group program that's relaunching in September, mid-September, and then I work one-on-one as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the group helps because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people want to be quiet and then all of a sudden someone else will ask a question and they'll go, that's what it is, because you don't always know what to ask. And
Yeah,
someone else may
totally.
ask it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
it's so interesting. The group is really fascinating energy. Like um one class that really stands out is one woman asked a question just like you said, and she was sharing what she's been struggling with and sort of her blocks. And then another woman towards the end of the class like unmuted and shared and pretty much was like crying. And she said, I wasn't even going to come today, didn't want to come. I had so much resistance, but something just said, just show up, just show up. And what that other woman had shared like really resonated with her and felt like she was experiencing the exact same thing. And it was just so nice to see that you're not alone and to see that you can come to a space and feel like you belong and that you can also be witnessed in who you are. We do a lot of different practices where we're witnessing one another, which can bring up a lot of self-consciousness for some of the women, but it's also like when you move through that and you're seen for who you are, it's this kind of beautiful almost place for just this transformation where you're seen for who you really are in the moment. And it's like women who don't even know these women and who are together for a short time can really feel another woman's energy and say, oh, I see this in you. And this is the beauty I see in you. And it's just so powerful, and
Yeah,
to
when they
also,
find out they're not invisible.
right, exactly, when they're seen. So they're seen, they're
Mhm,
witnessed, and
mhm,
they're acknowledged, they're appreciated, right? Like all these
mhm.
different ways that we play with seeing one another. And I think that our deepest desire as women is to be seen. And
Yes,
so
and appreciated.
I mean, appreciated. Yeah. So yeah, it's really like a beautiful, beautiful place that I love to bring women together to celebrate one another and to support our learning and growth.
Mhm. That's
Mm-hmm.
important work. Now you talked about the workshop you're doing, and it's a free gift you have. Tune Yourself Enchanted FM, and you're giving
Yes.
that away at your website, coachingwithcass.com. And if you're on YouTube, I'm going to put an actual link down below. It's an Eventbrite link. It's way too long to say for the podcast, but
Mm-hmm.
for the podcast, just coaching with CASS.com. And the link will be on her webpage, or you can go to the YouTube channel, either one. And the link is there for Eventbrite. So
Yeah, so those are monthly free webinars that I host. This month is on the topic that you said, how to tune yourself to Enchanted FM. So this is kind of like, if we think about us being tuned to different radio stations throughout our day, we can either be tuned to Gloomy FM or where we're stuck in, sadness or depression, or just states that we keep us really sad and gloomy, just as it says. Then there's reality FM. And reality FM is kind of like, there's no place for possibility. You can only see what's in your reality, and you're kind of like repeating your days, almost like Groundhog Day. Like it's just the same thing over and over and over again. And so tuning yourself to Enchanted FM is, quite frankly, what it sounds like, right? Like this space of wonder, of possibility, of expansion. And I share some little tips and tricks to tune yourself there when you find that you're in gloomy or reality states, which in our day, right, we're like weaving and waving through these different radio stations or these frequencies, but little prompts for you to keep tuning yourself. And this isn't about dismissing or repressing emotions that are there that need to be acknowledged, but it's sometimes our brain and our neural pathways have just been so conditioned to be in gloomy states or reality states. And so it's really about just practicing shifting that station little by little, over and over and over. And I give some really good ways to support you for being in your enchantment and tune to a different station. So when you can catch yourself, you can shift that station. And yeah, every month I do different free webinars, which is a great way for people to learn more about this work and how I operate, and have a really tangible tool to leave with that will support you, whether you want to continue working with me or not. You can really just come and experience something great for yourself. So yeah, that's happening on August 24th at 6 p.m. EST. And like you said, thank you so much. The links will be in the YouTube description, or you can go to coachingwithcass.com and find the link there as well.
Yeah, I think for some people, being in a gloomy state or a victim state or a depressed state has become a habit.
Totally.
And they
Absolutely
need to break the habit.
Yeah, it's repatterning. Yeah, it's like every time you notice it, right? We can get stuck in these loops where we don't even notice we're there, but we're just operating the day, and these thoughts are going and going and going. And as soon as you notice it, it's like just cutting it off, right? Like, can you just drop into the body and then retune to another station? Because it's exactly that. It's a habit. And as much as we can break that habit and repattern and reprogram and start to rewire your station, it's great. It's great to change the habit. And then now you're building new pathways and neural pathways and conditioning for this new station, Enchanted FM, to be more supportive, way more supportive for you in your life.
That is awesome. Well, do you have any closing words, Cassandra, to share?
Well, this has been a great conversation. I'd love to leave the audience with that. If you're finding yourself stuck in the habits of gloomy or reality, and I think the best thing you can do for yourself is take a moment, take a breath, and feel your feet on the ground. Like, as much as you can bring yourself into the body and move yourself out of just those loops that the mind can take us in. Whether you're washing the dishes and you notice that, and you can just drop into your hands washing the dishes and start to feel that. Or when you're, in the shower, can you really feel your body? Like, all these places where our minds are just looping on all these thoughts. When you're out for a walk, really, like, can you feel your feet on the ground? And the more and more and more you can bring yourself into the body, the better. And yeah, come and join the Enchanted FM workshop. I would love to see you there and support you with some further practices. But yeah, I hope this has been valuable and that this is supportive for anybody listening to, be excited that we have the power as humans to change these old behaviors and these old habits and these old ways of doing things. And we actually can change our whole life if we want to, like it is possible. So it's exciting. And yeah, thanks again for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Well, it was our pleasure. And thank you
Mm.
all for joining us. We thank you and ask you to consider subscribing. And remember to be the light you want to see in the world.
Mm.